Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Pagan Housewife. Today, we're going to be talking about prioritizing marriage. Yes, we're going to talk about marriage, the complicated institution, the landmine of a topic. So much scope for controversy. If I was of a faint-hearted spirit, I would never dream of touching this subject, not with a 10-foot pole, not for any amount of money. However, on this channel, neither the viewers nor myself are cowards. So let's dive in and see what happens. Doesn't it strike you as just a little bit strange in which, after who knows how many epochs of human history there have been, and the institution of marriage, the formation, the continuation of these relationships, it has always been absolutely fundamental to a civilization. And then just for the past couple of generations, suddenly it's being treated as something very, very different. For some, a marriage seems to be reduced to the status of an accessory, something it's nice to have, totally optional, not super desirable. Definitely leave yourself an escape route. Others take such an exasperating role to even get to the point of getting married. I mean, you see this through protracted dating, these on again, off again relationships, or people who are so busy psychoanalyzing each other without any real result that, it just becomes a chore for them to even be together. So by the time these people actually say their vows, you're kind of wondering if they're actually in a solid place and they're sealing the deal and making it official, because is this genuine sentiment? Do they really feel like they belong together, or are they doing this because they put so much effort into it? And it's not so much about this is a good match as it is, I have done so much, I can't just let it all be for nothing. You wonder sometimes, or at least I do. And then, of course, we have the people who are all kinds of lovey-dovey before they got married. You know the ones I mean, super saccharine, always making a display of their relationship on social media. And then they get married, and the minute they get back from the honeymoon, suddenly everything has changed. It's not, oh, darling, I could not possibly live without you. Oh, no, no, no. They are treating each other as enemy combatants who need to be defeated in this all or nothing war. Now, these are just a few examples of the dysfunction that I've observed, and perhaps you've observed it as well. But do you think it's fair to say that people are failing to prioritize their marriages more commonly, and that the results have been less than desirable, or that people are going into marriage with kind of a weird, hinky view of it? Now, of course, we know that there's no controlling what goes on in other people's marriages, but we always have it within our power to render a bit of TLC to our own marriages, whether it's just a gentle maintenance that's required or there needs to be a massive reset in the relationship. We have a great influence on how things actually go. Now, before anyone throws rotten eggs at me, I want to establish that today's video is not about trying to save relationships that are abusive or relationships in which vows have been broken. Those are completely separate issues. They have to be treated differently, dealt with differently. They are not to be conflated with the normal ebb and flow of marital relationships and the normal work required to maintain that relationship. We're looking at things that are reasonably healthy, or at the very least salvageable, not something that absolutely needs to end for the well-being of both parties. Now, as always when troubleshooting, it begins by examining our own attitudes and conduct. Let's be real, we have the most amount of control over, how we're thinking, feeling, and acting. And if we want to improve our marriages, I think it's better that we start with ourselves rather than telling our spouses what we think they need to do. That seldom has good or lasting effects. But if we work on ourselves, it just tends to work out better. And it's an act of good faith on our part. They can see that we are trying to improve ourselves. We're trying to improve our relationship with them. They can feel reassured. It can build trust that our efforts are sincere. It's not some kind of twisted game of one-upmanship, and that makes people feel more comfortable reciprocating and turning towards each other rather than away each other. Because marriage is, of course, about the we, not the I. So where are our thoughts, ambitions, and actions focused? Are we really directing our energies toward building up that we, or have we been crafting a life that's really just tailored for ourselves? And how do we react when our spouses get on our nerves? Because they all do, and doubtless we do the same right back to them, sometimes on purpose. Does when that happens, does it turn into this tailspin of thoughts that ends with us thinking, oh, maybe I would be better off single? Or are we able to keep a sense of proportion of like, yes, they're acting like an idiot, but that's still my idiot. And I'd rather go through life with them rather than without them. It's just a question of, in our daily routine, are we treating our spouse as an obstacle to overcome or as a true partner and someone we value? Are we sensitive to their needs, or has taking them into consideration come to feel like a burden? And I don't think that anyone ever means for it to happen, but daily life and its usual ups and downs, it takes a toll, and people can just lose sight of each other. But thankfully, we can make the choice to restore our spouses to their proper place in our lives, and hopefully they will choose to do the same for us. Because granted, it does still take two. But provided you have a measure of cooperation from your spouse and that they're receptive to your influence, nothing is beyond hope. Improvements can be made, and those improvements can become habits, and that has a cumulative effect on the relationship. And if nothing else, you are proving to each other that you both consider the other person worth all the effort. And knowing that you're still worth someone working for, it's quite the boost of confidence. And sometimes I think it's not so much about what we're doing exactly that demonstrates that we still love our spouses and care about them. It's just the fact that we are doing something and that they can see that effort and that it's sincere. Because time marches on, we get older, tired. None of us are as pretty as we used to be. It's a great comfort to know that our spouse still sees us through the lens of love, and that they're still attracted to the spirit within, that inner person. And they still believe that the worst thing in the world that could happen would be to lose you, and vice versa. I mean, and that's what always kills me about relationships that are about superficial qualities or the outer appearance or bank accounts or status symbols or all this and that. It's also temporary, because sooner or later it all turns to dust. The greatest beauty fades into the wrinkles of old age, no matter how well you take care of yourself. Money can come and go depending on what the economy does. And, as far as status goes, I mean, whose approval are you really looking for in your marriage and in your relationships? I mean, these are things to think about. But if you actually love the person within, you can weather through all of that. And that's something to contemplate, because we live in a very cold, detached society. People are so ready to rid themselves of people, sometimes especially their spouses. And it's quite a thing to reject the larger culture and just say, no, I actually am going to be attached to my spouse. My marriage and my relationship to them is going to matter, and I'm going to put them above all other human beings. And they're going to do the same for me. And we're going to face the world as we, not just these two disconnected cogs who could just be easily as paired with anyone else as they are with each other. Now, it can help to remind ourselves not only of our spouse's good qualities, but also about how there are traits that we might find somewhat irritating, that sometimes those irritating traits are exactly what a situation needs. The thing that drove you crazy yesterday might actually be what saves the day today. And in all probability, our spouses can point to similar things in us. Are we willing to have that give and take? Because love and marriage is about the acceptance of each other's totality of being and choosing to come together despite all of the pros and cons. Because a relationship isn't a balance sheet upon which we keep score. It's supposed to be true companionship to help hold us steady through life. So we have a lot of motivation to prioritize our marriages, to do what we can to make them last lifelong. And hopefully, as we do this work, it will inspire other people and have a good ripple effect throughout our communities. And that in of itself can go a long way to stabilizing our teeter-totter civilization. So, those are my thoughts on the importance of marriage. Leave your questions, comments, concerns, complaints, counter arguments, whatever you want in the comments section below. Or you can come visit us on Gilded. The link to join Blackbird's Brew is in the description box. So, if you want to carry on the conversation there, I'd be happy to do that with you. But that'll do it for now, and I will see you next time. Bye.